Joining me now, radio talk show host and Fox News contributor Monica Crowley, and Public Notice Executive Director Gretchen Hamel. And let's start off with voter ID, because a number of states are working on this. Some of them have already passed some voter ID laws. In Wisconsin, they're holding back the voter ID law until after the recall election of the governor.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. If you have to show voter ID to get on an airplane, or a ID to get on an airplane, why shouldn't you?
Or to drink under age 21, or to prove that you're 21. You
rent
have
a
to
car.
Rent a car. There are so many places where you have to produce a photo identification to prove your identity. It is beyond
What's the
belief.
fight? Why is there such a? It's a Republican Democrat thing.
In the most sacred part of our republic, which is voting, that now there's some challenges to requiring people to show voter ID. The counter argument, Tom, is that it disenfranchises particularly minorities in different parts of the country, because the argument is they can't necessarily afford to drive, so therefore they don't have a driver's license, or they can't get
but you can get free state ID cards.
Municipal office, or they don't have the transportation to get there, and therefore they're being disenfranchised. And they've equated these with old school racial laws that no longer exist. This is not an issue. Everybody in America who wants a photo identification granted by the state, and by the way, a lot of these municipalities and states will take any form of photo ID, employer photo ID, or you can go and you can get a free one from the state.
Yeah.
So there are no barriers to getting an ID.
But here's the thing: if we all agree that voting is a really important right that we have in this nation, then the question is, you want to make sure that, because there is voter fraud, every election we get the stories about voter fraud. Why can't we use voter ID to clamp down on voter fraud so we do get a good, solid, honest vote?
This becomes a wedge issue in the election. They want to bring up these old arguments of the past to make sure that, certain segments of subpopulations throughout the nation show up for Democrats or show up for Republicans. They use it as a wedge issue. It's not, but when you think about it in common sense, it doesn't make sense. We should be able to show some sort of ID to be able to vote. You have to do it to smoke, to go out dancing in some clubs on a Friday night. I mean, are we disenfranchising people there?
Yes, yes. My right to drink. They haven't carded me in a while.
Really?
No,
I'm surprised by that.
know. It's a shock. In Wisconsin, with the recall election coming up in a couple of weeks, you know that everybody's going to be bussing in everybody there, and why not have that voter ID law in place so that we don't get people bussed in that shouldn't be voting
Absolutely.
there.
And by the way, the judge in Wisconsin that put this injunction in place, stopping the voter ID law until after the recall, he's been linked twice to the recall efforts to recall Scott Walker. So there's so much politics involved here, but we're talking about basic common sense. Even this week, Super Tuesday, an 84-year-old woman went to vote, and when she went to sign her name, they told her she was dead. And she said, "Excuse me, I'm still drawing breath. I am right here."
Well,
so in order to prevent this kind of voter fraud, it's just a common sense maneuver.
All right, so Republicans, I'm starting to wonder if maybe there are more than one Republican Party. You've got Romney did well in the cities.
Yes.
Santorum did well in the rural areas. 100,000 above went for Romney, below 100,000 went for Santorum. Are we seeing two Republican parties?
I argue against this. I don't think that we are. I think what we've had here is a failure to communicate and a failure to connect on Romney's part to those who are making less than $100,000. You have 4 in 10 voters in Ohio and Tennessee who are making under 100K who voted for Santorum. There are 6 other people who voted in various different ways. So this isn't strictly just a salary issue or an income issue. This is just a failure to connect. And you look at Santorum. He looks like he's been through a lot. He's got a big family. People who are making less money and kind of identify with a struggling family with little kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something they can identify. With Romney, he's got grown kids who are well achieved. He's got grandkids. Now, it's a little bit different. It's about a failure to connect here.
Monica?
I think there are a couple of different divisions that are happening in the Republican Party. Part of it's a function of fiscal conservatives versus social conservatives. And in the end,
but I think that's a different argument, though.
It is, but I'm saying that voters who are fiscal conservatives might go for a Newt Gingrich or Rick Santorum. Social conservatives are definitely going for Rick Santorum. So you have that kind of split, and of course they'll all come together once we finally have a nominee. But I also think, picking up on what you said, Gretchen, personality personality-wise, Mitt Romney does come out of the private sector. He was a CEO of Bain Capital. He ran the Olympics. He is an executive, so he does have that appeal to people making
to
more
the country
money.
club.
Whereas
We
Santorum is a blue-collar guy.
We talked to Steve Forbes about that at the top of the show, this whole business, and I think you're on it, though, Gretchen, is this business about somehow Romney has to convince people that, okay, so I'm a rich guy, but I can solve your problem.
But let me tell you this. I was talking to my folks back in Oklahoma, my friends and family.
Santorum country.
Yeah, Santorum country, yes. You know, and I'm from a small town farm and ranch community, and I was asking folks back there, who did they vote for? And they said, you know what? I have a Santorum bumper sticker. I have a Newt Gingrich bumper sticker. But at the end of the day, they voted for Romney because to them it was most important that they have a strong candidate in this general election, and it was, you know, a difference between head and heart, as Monica and I were talking earlier.
One final thing here about Romney, because I think you're right about the failure to communicate. Unless he's planning to give away his $200 million fortune between now and Election Day, assuming he's the candidate, he's going to be running as a rich guy. He needs to go out there and embrace that he lived the American dream. He got an education, he worked hard, he sacrificed, and he achieved.
And he wants that for everybody else.
Exactly
are
right.
uncomfortable with wealthy people. I don't know if it's the 7 deadly sins. I don't know what it is. Jealousy, envy,
you know what, Tom?
What is it?
America is an aspirational society.
Yes.
We don't condemn the rich because we all aspire to be the rich. And what Mitt Romney needs to say to the American people is, yes, I'm wealthy because that's the beauty of America. And that anybody can become so, and I'm going to unleash this country so you can become the same.
And he needs to have this message that connects with people about economic opportunity.
Well,
you too can have an opportunity to bring yourself up.
One guy that's doing that, I mean, you can see the campaign, President Obama, is I am for the middle class. Middle class, I'm for the middle class. Middle class, middle class, middle class,
yes,
middle
but
class.
his
I mean,
policies,
he never stops.
all of his policies are designed to destroy the middle class, from inflating the currency to the tax hikes that are coming down the pike to socialized medicine. This is all designed to hurt the middle class, so ultimately they become dependent on government.
So I had to do a little intervention with the Paulites on my radio show this week about the reality of their guy's not going to make it.
Yeah.
When is this going to finally? To me, I know the network hasn't called this. I'm calling it. Romney, mathematically, Romney is the nominee.
Well, you have every candidate out there right now saying that they have a path forward to make it to the convention, that they can do this.
Yeah, but it's delusional.
To some, it does seem a little bit delusional. But, you know, Romney did win 65% of the delegates on Super Tuesday. Having said that, everyone keeps talking about this being a long and drug-out primary. What happened in 2008? I mean, Hillary didn't drop out till June.
I know, but
Reagan,
it was a different tenor.
Reagan, who was the last person to actually beat a sitting president, didn't win until May.
I know, but I think the campaign needs to start for the Republicans versus President Obama, and the longer they drain each other down, the financials down, beat them up more. I think
you can argue this both ways. You can say that Romney or whoever the candidate may be is getting all their dirty laundry out there, and they're going to be able to sharpen their answers and know how to come back.
I've heard that. I don't buy it.
Well, I think with Romney, he may need a little bit of practice on that.
I do.
But then you're allowing the president to be able to talk about his agenda, to be able to talk to the middle class, like you said, from here until this primary is settled, pretty much unchallenged, and that can be a problem.
When's it going to be settled, Gretchen?
Oh, you know what? I think April.
Yeah,
Monica?
I agree with that. I think earlier than June. I think people are really starting to focus on the points that you just made. I think a protracted primary process is not necessarily a bad thing. It makes the ultimate nominee a much stronger candidate.
The big question here is Newt. I mean, no one can predict this guy and how long he's going to hang on, right?
Yeah.
So,
and he's going to stay in for a while.
He's that light.
He makes it entertaining, but anyway.